spiritual journey, if you'll call it, or yeah, I took a personal journey basically, and I decided that my name had no honor or respect behind it, and I was not going to marry someone and give them my name when I didn't respect or honor the name. So I changed my name legally before I got married because I was not going to bring a child into this world under somebody else's name that had no honor or respect behind it.
All right. So FYI, I'm going to do the introduction. Stephane. We have Stephane, who I've known literally my entire life, father of one, and your son is a toddler. We have Bernard. Bernard is a father, also a father of one, another son. X just turned 5. And then we have Ellis, who is the vet of the group. Ellis has 4. You have 3 or 4? You're muted.
3 kids. Don't be adding no more. You're not doing that.
Ellis is a papa of 3, 2 girls, 1 boy, or 3 girls?
Oh, absolutely. Two girls and 1 boy. You got it right the first time.
Okay. All right.
We make boys over this side.
Listen, I mean, it on your last try was the boy, right?
Yep. It was a little shaky for a minute. It was a little shaky.
As you guys all know, I never have an agenda. If you've heard my podcast before, so we literally are just going to jump in. And it's funny, I did not plan my podcast to be a father with at least someone having a boy, but I want to start there. So Stephane, Bernard, you both have boys, first boys. Ellis, yours was a girl first. Now I know that there is not necessarily a myth, or I don't want to call it a stereotype, but what is it with men wanting to have a boy first? Anybody, whoever wants to go first, and then we'll just roll along.
Because
it's legacy for me.
It's legacy. You get a chance to have your family name continue, because when you have a daughter, the likelihood of your family name not continuing is very, very high, because she's going to change her last name to whoever she decides to marry and take upon that last name. So having a boy and keeping that family bloodline intact is critical. So yes, that's why having a son is big time.
Ellis, with you having 2 girls first, and clearly me being a daddy's girl, I'm trying to shape this question in a way that doesn't sound that your girls will feel bad, but at one point, did you start to lose hope, or are you like, yo, we gonna keep trying until you give me this son?
Did I lose faith?
Yeah.
Did I lose faith? Did I be like, yo, did I lose faith knowing that the possibility of having a 3rd girl and being a daddy's girl the rest of my life, and just looking at my boys with sons and being like, must be nice. Must be nice. Oh, you take your son to the barbershop? Oh, that must be nice, I can't do that. Like, they go to the salon with their mama. Because honestly, our 3rd pregnancy, I say like I was the one carrying the baby.
You were part of this mission, but go ahead.
No, I was part of the mission, but I didn't get the dad belly for the 3rd one. I learned my lesson after the first one. I learned fast. But there was a possibility, because we didn't find out the gender of my son until the day he was born. So we went through the whole pregnancy. We got the ultrasound with the gender, and then we kept it secret. But everybody thought I cracked and was like, "Oh, so did you look? What's the gender of the baby?" I kid you not. When we did the baby shower, all the aunties was mad at us because it's like, "What's the gender of that baby so I know what to get this kid?" I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. There's an envelope. It is right over there. You want to look at the gender? Go right on ahead. Ain't not a soul did either. So I was like, y'all pressing me, and the answer's right there. Because I know y'all got big mouths and y'all gonna spill the beans. But it's like, and again, for me, it was 7 months in. So I'm like, if I made it this far not knowing the gender, I'll be cool when the day the baby's delivered. Lo and behold, the day comes, I find out I get a son. Boy, I'm being loud, screaming, almost causing in the maternity ward, because I was with her because my wife had a C-section, so I was there. I went crazy. Had had a half bottle of Henny White just for him, just for that occasion. I was reckless that day my son was born. I was like, I'm out of the girl dad club. Love it here. Yes. Then like fast forward now to like 6 years of this kid, and man, it is a joy. It is a joy to just raise a young Black man, and I am so proud to have that honor and task be bestowed upon me. Not saying I don't take away from my girls. I love them wholly and dearly, but again, I'm gonna have to walk them down that aisle and give them away. The boy is just gonna be like, "Hey, what up, Dad? Like, what up, son? What's going on?" Like, you the only Jones around, so
Right.
it apart, because then and still I get to impart a lot of the wisdom that I've gained throughout my life, but also just to again help a young man grow. It's just such a great honor,
Yeah.
and I'll keep it at that.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I originally wanted to have this conversation about fatherhood, but hearing you start to speak about raising a Black son, I'm shifting the narrative now, because I have 3 Black amazing men in front of me raising sons, raising the next generation. And with everything that we have going on in society right now, I'm gonna start with Stephane. What is something growing up, because I know, and I know each and every one of you individually. Stephane, I know you are an only child with your mother. What is something that you can take from growing up that you want to make sure you instill in Sean?
Wow. For me, I would say my sense of religion and faith. As you know, I grew up in the church and everything. I'm not as crazy as my mother was with it, going to church 7 days a week or anything like that. But I think that's helped me out. It's helped me when I faced some dark times, when I was down, whatever it was, having my faith and having that there to just be able to go somewhere and pray and help me in those dark moments really helped me out. So that I definitely is one of those things that my mother, even though like religion, I always fight with her about religion, but that faith aspect, she really instilled that in me. And I definitely want to pass that down to him so that when he faces some hardships or he faces some tough moments and you can't really go to anybody about it, your friends, your family, whoever it is will not understand you. You can actually sit there and go through certain things in your head and, pray about it and let it go from there. And hopefully you're able to figure it out and get past that dark moment and that hard moment. So that's something I definitely want to pass down. And that's even why, even in choosing the women that I dated, I always wanted to make sure, hey, is this person going to understand this? Are they religious? You don't have to have the same denomination as me, but at least understand where we're coming from so that we're in agreement with that. And I think a lot of people miss out on things like that when they're dating. They're just whatever. So that was always been big to me.
Okay. Bernard?
I think for me, it's a couple of things. I think X having an actual family, like a real family, as you know me, my family is crazy, and we have literally rebuilt my family over the last like 5 years. So him having an actual family is one of the things that I definitely want to leave him with. And one of the things that I want him to grow and understand, like, because I'm the oldest man in my family. Yeah, like it's me, then my younger cousins, and there's no other boys after that. So yeah, so him kind of understanding what that's going to be like for him, because he's definitely the oldest. Got it in early. Shout out to us. And I think also drive. So explaining to him, like, as a Black man, you're going to be tasked with tremendous like hurdles, and your drive has to be what gets you through those hurdles, because nobody cares basically. Like, we care, the Black community cares, but where you're trying to go definitely doesn't care, unless you go to an HBCU and somehow work at the blackest firm in the United States of America. And even if you did that, somebody's still going to give you a hard time and tell you, like, they don't care about your background. You're going to have to push yourself through it. So I think that probably the most is what I mostly want to leave him with, because I think the fun part is like him seeing the love and the joy of like family life is going to be what allows him to be a little bit more open, a lot less hard, maybe not wear Timbs all the time, maybe not wear Averex jackets and stuff like that. He'll just be more open life, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it'll be a little different for him. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with wearing Timbs. You can still be a gentle soul with some Timbs on. But
Ella,
no, but like, but
go ahead.
Bernard, like, my fault, Shou. But like, Bernard, even to your point though, like, there's nothing more, and I think all of us feel it too. There's nothing more amazing than hugging our sons. Like, just giving my son a hug every day, or he'll be like, "Hey, Daddy, I love you," and just hugging him. Like, I love that. I love that I'm able to do that and like share those moments of, I know the way society is, and I'm gonna try to avoid this. It's like we want our sons to be as empathetic as possible, but we kind of have to be a little realistic with it and be like, and again, like to your point, no matter what career, what industry they decide to work in, we know the hurdles that they're gonna face, but at least we can walk with them through all those hurdles and help them navigate those hurdles as much as possible. And again, I think that's one of the greatest things that we can have is we can have that conversation with them. It's like, hey, son, what's going on? Like, what's troubling you? What struggles are you fighting and how can I help? Or is there somebody that I may know that can help you get over that hurdle? And then you can have those conversations with him to say, here, I'm putting you in position to even be greater and do more and really fulfill your dreams and goals. So yeah, I really respect that.
Now, so, and I want to roll off of that with you wanting that for your sons. Is that something because that's what you saw, that's what you grew up with? I'm not gonna put nobody's business out there, whoever was raised with their father, whoever was not raised with their father. From how your experience was, did you have somebody in your corner to give you that type of experience that you want to instill in your son? Or is it more so because you grew up without it, that you don't want your son to experience what you experienced, and that's why your mission or goal in life is to make sure your son can experience love, strength, see power in who they are and go forth with it?
Oh yeah, of course. Not having a dad, not even knowing my father at all, definitely makes me wary of, okay, I need to make sure I'm there for him. I instill those things in him. And I didn't have that father figure. I had my grandfather as a kid, but he passed away when I was, what, 7 years old. And then after that, it's been, uncle, but he's more the player type, so it's not really the same. It's more like, hey, go holler at this girl or whatever. So it was very different compared to, you're like a father figure in your life. So yeah, I definitely want to make sure that I'm there for him. I can provide those guidance that you definitely, as you get older, you realize when you're growing up around women and you were raised by, if you had a man or a father figure or somebody in your life, you realize the different perspectives of what, we believe in and what we focus on as we get older also. So by realizing that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely want to make sure I am there. I'm very present in his life and that I can help guide him so that whenever he reaches those ages and he needs that help, he can go back and be like, okay, this is what my dad would have did, or this is what I should do, and everything like that, versus figuring out on your own. That figuring shit out on your own, sometimes you're messing up too many times and you're just like, at the same time, it's good to just have that male bonding. And it's something that not until I got older, I realized it amongst friends and peers and everything like that, compared to, growing up and having to figure what that was and how to be emotional, how to take my emotions, how to not bottle things up or anything like that. When it's fine to let it go, when it's fine to hold it in, when it's fine to push. That's certain things that women, they teach you that, but it's not the same as a man.
Right.
Pushing you. The mother's gonna want to cuddle, is gonna want their kids to be safe, where the dad will be like, hey, go ahead, go do that. No, try it again, keep going. So that's one of the biggest things I would say, that I want to be able to be there for my son, to be like, yeah, don't stop because you failed once. Keep going, keep pushing and doing these things.
I'm not even gonna argue. It's just fun. Like Ramses fell the other day, and I was just like, okay, so we're gonna put like cushion all over this house.
Oh,
Like I like lost my mind. He fell and like he busted his lip, and
mm,
Renard's sitting on the couch like calm, and I'm like,
yeah,
bro, so we didn't just watch our child plummet to the ground,
yeah.
and I'm over here
I'm just
beside
saying.
myself, and he's just like, he's a kid,
Yep.
like what you
I'm
expect
like,
to
he's gonna
happen.
learn. Like
And
my
I'm
son used
like,
to do the same thing.
no, I'm not. I don't want that. But I just want to throw that part out there. Yes, I will not argue with you. We mothers do coddle, and I
Yeah.
think it is important that you guys. It's a healthy balance. But B, I'm gonna let you jump in and speak about your experience and kind of how you see yourself as a father without having that figure in your life growing up.
Yeah, that coddling's the worst though. You're like, man, can the boy be a little tough? Let him jump off the bed once in a while.
No,
I don't-
no.
So you taking him to the hospital? Yeah.
Yup. And you better be there all night. You better be there
Yeah.
all
Oh, here
night.
you go. Here you go.
Nope.
All right,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Bernard.
Go
All
ahead,
right.
B. Because
I will say
Ellis and I will fight all night. Go ahead.
I had to have a sit down meeting with every woman in my family and be like, yo, when he falls, let him get up because he knows how to get up. So
Mhm.
let him get up by himself because he needs to understand that he can get up. When we'll know if he's really hurt, he can't get up.
Mm.
Then I gotta go get him. But yeah, no, for me it's the everything I'm doing is because nobody did anything for me. So I have to do this. Everything I do is for this little boy. So there's no stopping it. There's no going back. I don't have no safety net out here. I honestly I have some, and I'm in therapy about it, so I don't need to get into it. But I have some resentment towards those that do have a safety net. Honestly, like if you have both your parents, if you could lose your
Mm.
job in your house and you could go home and just like restart, I'm like, damn, must be nice. It's not like that out here. I will be living at South Station by myself. So
You could come stay here. It's okay. We got room for you, B.
yeah. So now doing all of this is because the worst part is like I don't need to speak on this person that much more, but I watched a grown man intentionally decide to not be a father, which is worse to me, obviously, my opinion, worse to me than like if your pops passed away or if they ran when you was a baby or whatever. But if I can see you every day intentionally not being a father, for me that made it worse. So for me that just drove me crazy. So when I was like 11, I was very different than everybody else. People's like, "What do you want to do?" Blah blah. And I'm like, "I just want to buy my own crib and have some kids and stuff like that." And people be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I'm going to the NBA too, but I still just want to buy my own crib, you know what I'm saying, to have my kids running around and stuff like that. So it was very easy for me to just be, I'm doing this because I have to. There's nobody
Yeah.
that's ever showed me it. RIP to my Uncle Jimmy, who showed me later on in my life, but early on, nobody showed me this. So I got no playbook, but it's all right though. We doing good.
Yeah,
You
we
running
do
game,
that
running
piece
game.
over here.
But I love that though, because again, like for my situation with my father, me and him had some rough patches. And not to go too like deep into detail, but there would be a lot of father-son events where it was me and mom's or me and my grandfather or my uncles.
Mm.
So I was fortunate enough to have some great mentors in my back pocket that really helped raise me and really the expectations were so high to become a black man that served his not only served his family but served his community. And those were always some of the biggest principles that were taught to me growing up. So for me, that was ultimately that was the biggest thing, was just making sure that whenever I did have a son, even for my daughters, I was like, I will at least give you a good foundation of what a good black man looks like, what it feels like, what it touches like, all of that. So at least you know what to look for when it's your turn to start getting out into this world, start dating and feeling out, well, daddy, how should a man treat me? well, at least you know what it's looked like because you see how me and your mother are, how I treat her with respect, how even if we have problems, we'll talk it out, things like that. The spoiling stuff I know social media blows up like crazy all the time. And thank God I got married early in the 2010s before all the stuff really got out of hand because it has been going crazy. But again, at least my daughters can see it. And for my son, it's like, this is how you should treat a woman, with respect, dignity. Even if you guys disagree, you guys can have those healthy conversations about, well, this is where I'm coming from. Let me understand where you're coming from, and let's come to some agreement. Because again, for those of us that are married, communication is everything. And knowing how to communicate with one another is big. And just being able to be that example for my family, more so in this aspect for my son and my daughters, it's very important. And that, and again, I praise my village so much for raising me in that mold that I'm able to, again, facilitate that down to my children and be like, yes, the expectations will be high for you. But guess what? As long as you're consistent, you can meet those expectations. And guess what? Dad's going to be here every step of the way. I know there's going to be times where it's like, Dad, I don't want your help. I'm like, yep, because this is where you got to do it on your own. But hopefully I've done enough work to prepare you to be ready for those kind of situations and aspects of growing.
Right, right. Do you ever feel, and this is for the three of you, being raised predominantly by the women in your life, that you put more pressure on yourselves than society does to be for for the next generation to supersede you? So because you only saw, you were with your mom, you saw the mom aspect of it. You're like, well, you know what? I didn't have this growing up. I got to make sure that I'm number one in how to show my son how to be a man, but not necessarily in the effective way, but more so, did you put the pressure on yourself, or did you just kind of feel like parenthood came over and said, this is what I need to do?
I would say for me, I just accepted the challenge of, this is what I want to do. I want to be a father. I want to be able to lead and tell my son, this is how we roll. This is how this works. And to be proud of that, because again, seeing my mom work as hard as she did, I knew off rip, all right, I can't fail. And then my mother's family was real tough and strict. And again, like the expectations were high, but meeting and exceeding those goals made it that much better going forward in my development. And being able to now coach my son, but it's like, but you have even more resources because you have both me and your mother, and you have this big network of people who are going to be there to support you and love you, that you don't have to do it alone. But there'll still be expectations of, you still got to do your end of the deal and your end of the bargain. But for me, I took that aspect of, I know some fathers struggle with that because, again, if you don't have the resources or the people, you're just trying to figure this out. And that can be difficult in and of itself. And again, I'm so blessed and fortunate to say I had enough support that it made my job easier, but I also took the role and responsibility and the challenges of making sure I took care of my end. And with my son, I absolutely said, son, the biggest regret I'll ever have in my life with you is me not meeting your expectations or failing you, or feel like I failed you without giving you every opportunity and chance to redeem yourself and give you basically, if I can't give you any of the resources you need to be successful, that's failure to me. But if I feel like if I've done everything in my power to do everything to like help you get to where you want to go, and you've put in the work and you still ain't get there, I'm okay with that.
Stephane, Bernard, anybody to add?
Yeah, for me, I've put a lot of pressure on myself because, like I said, I didn't grow up with a father, so I didn't have that blueprint. So that's one right there where you're already like, shit, okay, I have no image, no clue of what the hell I'm doing. It's basically, I call myself a Cosby baby, and for those shows, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and all that. That's what
Yeah.
I saw as the father figures growing
Yeah.
up.
R.I.P. Rest
You
in,
know?
what was it? R.I.P. Uncle Phil.
Yeah, R.I.P. Uncle Phil. Rest in peace, Uncle Phil. For real. But
Yeah.
that's how it is. And
Yeah.
you have that added pressure because you're like, you're in a relationship, you're married, and you want that relationship to thrive, but also you also want there to be there for your kids, but be that presence, but make sure you're doing it the correct way because you don't have anybody that showed you how to do it. You saw it from far away. So it's kind of like you're piecing things together to be like, all right, I'm gonna take some from here, something from here. And this is where having a good network, having a good group of friends to bounce ideas off each other, like, yo,
That
would this work for
village.
you? Nah, man, you don't even need to do that. Okay, but let me not do this, or okay, this worked for me. This is how I communicated, this is how I did this. But yeah, a lot of added pressure, especially for us Black men. On top of that, raising a Black kid, a Black child in today's society, man, like back in the days, the hidden racism was there, but now it's in your face.
Yeah.
Not just that, all the crap that's going on. It's like you got to make sure there's a lot of things you got to cover with your kid to be there for them. But I think it's probably out of everything I've ever done in my life, it's one of those constant, damn, okay, I got to make sure I wake up, I'm on my P's and Q's. I can't bullshit this.
Yeah.
I can't bullshit this. I can't afford to bullshit this because that's someone's life. That's my future. That's out there. I cannot afford to play around and BS with this.
For the next 18 years.
Longer than that,
No, it's longer than that.
Well,
It's
no.
longer than that.
After 18, they're adults. So if they get into
Yeah,
anything,
okay.
that's on
What
them.
the-
What I mean.
No, it's not. No,
All I gotta
no,
say is think about yourself when you was
no.
18. What were
No,
you doing?
well, I understand that they still gonna depend on you, but I'm talking about legally. If they get into
Oh,
some
yeah.
shit
Here we go.
under 18, that's on you. You getting
Yeah.
in trouble. But
Oh,
before then, that's on them. B, I'm
Rachel's saying that like she wouldn't bail her baby out. She
Oh,
You
fools.
know what I'm saying?
listen, first
You'll
and
be
foremost,
32. You'll be like,
Thank you,
listen,
Bernard. You're making the face I want to make. Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Bernard is best friends with my husband, and you can ask Bernard to tell you this. I already said Ramses could be 35, 40 years old. If he called his mama and say, Mommy,
exactly.
I need some dinner, but
Yep.
I'm getting in that kitchen and I'm
Mhm.
feeding my child. I'm not gonna argue with
We
y'all.
know.
I already know what I'm gonna do. But I'm not speaking. This ain't about motherhood. This is about
And
fatherhood.
his
This
wife
episode.
or his girlfriend is gonna despise you.
Oh,
That
dude,
is
what?
perfect.
I'm gonna
That's
feel bad for
perfect.
him,
Listen, let me
fam.
tell y'all
I'm gonna
something.
feel
That's
bad for her.
perfectly fine because I'm probably gonna despise that heifer too.
Yep.
So we just gonna
She's
not
gonna be rolling
like
her
each
eyes
other
every time.
every time.
Every
He
time,
he
boy.
already got a girlfriend at daycare that I side eye anyway, and she just turned 2. I be side eyeing her when I drop him off and when she gave him a kiss the other day. We're not gonna get into this conversation. Y'all getting
Some
me
nasty
riled
work.
up.
That is
Y'all
some
gonna get me
nasty
riled
work.
up. But B,
Yo,
I'm gonna let you hop on this topic
I'm
because they're getting me all startled and everything
gonna
like this.
pray for
Thinking about this
Bernard. I'm
girl.
like, yo, B, you gotta
No, Bernard. Well, you're gonna pray for Renard. See, can you imagine what my life is? You got Renard who has a best friend named Bernard. Like this is my life.
Be messing
B,
us up
go
all
ahead.
the time.
I am. B, I'm gonna let you speak on. So, FYI, in case you don't remember what the subject is, because we done bounced around, do you feel like you added more pressure on yourself to be a good father as opposed to what you saw in society?
100% yes. In fact, your wonderful husband was a part of that pressure. Because as you know, I don't know if you remember, but before this whole thing started, before I legally got married, I I took a journey. I won't call it a physical journey, but I took a spiritual journey, if you'll call it, or yeah, I took a personal journey basically, and I decided that my name had no honor or respect behind it, and I was not going to marry someone and give them my name when I didn't respect or honor the name. So I changed my name legally before I got married because I was not going to bring a child into this world under somebody else's name that had no honor or respect behind it. And at first, a lot of people didn't really understand what I was talking about, but I explained to them like, this is what my name means now, and this is what my name will be now. And so now my family, obviously the King family goes by that name. Obviously, it is what it is. Nobody questions it. There's nothing like I've never been happier about the whole situation, but I definitely, before I even got married, I took this responsibility on because I knew what it was. I didn't know I was gonna have a kid. Like we didn't have a kid immediately when we got married or anything like that. But when we had a kid, I was like, "Yep, this is exactly what it's going to be." And I mean, he has a very strong name in general, but when as he grows, he will understand what his name means, what it is meant to be a man in this family, what is expected of you to be a man in this family. When he has a little sister, she will grow up and learn what it's like to be a woman in this family, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I was ready for it from the jump, from before all this, before I even had a kid.
Speaking about names, let's jump into that. How did you guys go about naming your children?
So the girl. Oh, so
Well,
we
we're talking about boys. Let's talk about your son.
I know. I know it's a lot, but the girls always come first. See,
I know. I am a daughter. Listen, I've been a daddy's girl all my life. It ain't gonna stop.
y'all are the worst because y'all do the, but daddy. I'm like, all
I don't know
right,
what
come
you
on.
speak of.
That's a lot. But no, for him, he was named after my father-in-law who had passed away, and then he got my first name as his middle name, and it was real. It was just real simple, nothing too overly complicated.
Mhm.
I think it was more funny how my family and a lot of my cousins like, how come he ain't Ellis Jones Jr.? I was like, I wasn't named after my father, and why would I put that undue pressure of him having to live up to my name? I said, no, let him get his own name, his own brand. Let him be him. And for me, that was probably like my biggest sticking point of, no, I will let him create his own path because I don't already want to have him deal with any undue pressure of being Ellis Jones Jr. No, absolutely not. Be John Dana Jones. Be John Dana Ellis Jones. That's who you are. And I'm just gonna help mold you a little bit. But you're gonna finish this Picasso, not me. So that's more or less how I took it. And again, I had no question with the misses anyway. So
Excuse me.
y'all know how y'all get with naming these kids.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll tell my story after everybody. Go ahead, B.
I'm gonna actually echo that sentiment and actually go back to some. I want to pronounce your name wrong. Stephane said earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I knew my son's name when I was 11 years old. I knew what it was going to be. So every single girl I dated after whatever, before I got married, if there was any question to what our kids' names was going to be, that was an X in your box. You just didn't know it. So when X was coming, there was no question. We knew. I mean, we didn't know what the gender was going to be. We had a gender reveal. It was lit. He was there. But as you've seen, we had their names. Like the gender reveal team was Team Zoe versus Team Xavier. These been the names forever. Ain't nobody changing them. They ain't going nowhere. I already know what baby boy number 2 is going to be named because I'm out. The names mean something. So like I'm just like, nah. If you come in here, you want to name my kid Mufasa, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Cool. But we breaking up though because we not together no more. So nah, I knew what it was from the jump. But I could never ever I would never make my kid a junior. I'm just not with it. I love some of the juniors that I know, but like I could never do that to little men like ever.
Stephane.
Actually, that's so funny. I have a similar story to you, Bernard, where I knew I wanted to have kids at a young age. I didn't want to be a young father, but I knew I wanted kids. So I picked the name of my son when I was around 14 years old. And same thing, like you said, every relationship I was with, I was like, hey, firstborn son, this is going to be the name. I don't care if you like it. If you don't like it, this is what it's going to be. I've picked this. I've dreamt about this. And then the funny thing, so I picked the name just because I love the name. And with myself personally, the way my name is spelled, being Haitian and growing up in an American school system, I used to have people mispronouncing my name all the time. It was like first day of school. I don't know if this is Stephanie, Stevens, what? And I'm like, I went through that every single year, everywhere I went through. I was like, you know what? I don't want him to experience all that. So I
Mhm.
picked very solid name, very easy name. So you can't say, oh, I didn't know how to pronounce it or
Yeah.
misspell it or anything. So that was that. But I fell in love with the name since I was a kid. And later on, we ended up finding out. I was like, oh, the name means God is gracious, which is pretty dope. Which I was like, okay, because we were trying to have him for a few years, and then when my son came, it was just like, oh wow, okay, the meaning of the name that behind it is even extra special, and I didn't even know about that till I actually looked it up
Yeah.
afterwards. But yeah, I had picked my son's name since I was like 14, 15 years old. So that name was always going to be whoever was my firstborn
That's so.
son, at least son.
That's so. I'll tell you about Ramses. When we found out I was pregnant, but before we knew whether we were having a girl or a boy, I literally, you know me, I'm the planner, A-type personality. I'm gonna have these names picked out before the child's born. We literally went through a list of names, and I would just randomly just throw a name out there, and Renard would be, nah, that's not strong enough. Nah, that don't sound black enough. Nah, I don't want that. I don't want. But when I said Ramses, it's like we both kind of stopped. And he was like, we'll put that in the maybe pile. So with me falling in love with Ramses, I was trying to work my little magic, kept just randomly just throwing it out there, just kept throwing it out there. And we'd be like, yo, stop calling him that. We didn't decide that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's okay. Oh, Ramsey's kicking me. Oh, I feel Ramsey's moving around.
You see how these wives move? You see?
I know.
But
You
it
see how
really
they be
came out.
moving, right?
But I will say that my dad passed in 2020, and he had actually texted me. I kid y'all not, it's gonna give you goosebumps. My father sent me a text on September 12th, 2019, and said, I had a dream last night that you gave birth to a baby boy, and his name was Ray Rama Baton. First of all, I don't know why he thought my child would have my last name when I done been with my man for as long as I would. Like,
Because he's a man. Because he's a
West,
man.
these West Indian fathers, you don't think I'm gonna have a child and not give him my husband's last name, but I digress.
Hey, that's a whole different argument.
But Ray Rama, he actually combined my name with Renard's name with his name, because my father's name was Mallory, and you have Rochelle and Renard, so Ray Rama. So then, first of all, my first thought was like, so we're not even gonna consider my mom? I bet. So you gonna explain that to her, because she gonna fight everybody. But when we found out we were pregnant, I was like, oh, trying to figure out it. And Ramses and Ray Rama kind of felt. I wasn't gonna name my child Ray Rama, point blank period. That just was not gonna happen. But when Ramses kind of popped into our heads, we were like, oh, that's kind of dope. That little boy is strong. Like, he lives up to his name. And I tell everybody, we didn't pick his name picked us. And that's what we live by. But I want to
after 5 months of rubbing the belly of hi baby Ramses. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
He lives up to his name. But I want to shift a little bit, because Ellis touched on a point with communication in marriage. And I want to shift to talking about wives. It's all of you are married and with a son. How hard is it for you to feel that you can fulfill your, the pressure that we spoke about, the pressure that you put on yourself as fathers? I want this to be transparent. Don't be afraid of upsetting your wives. But how do you feel that your wives may have gotten in the way of your goal, or how you instill manhood? I put parentheses only because I'm a woman, not that I don't think it doesn't exist, but how you instill the strength of a man in your son.
Saying the strength of a man, but in what aspect?
All.
Because in all aspects, that's way too general. Because instill what strength? Strength of spirit, strength of.
No, well, your strength. I don't want to sound stereotypical, but how you see a man should walk.
The gender roles, the stereotypical
roles.
gender
Right,
roles.
right.
Okay.
Like I can tell you, like I know for me, there are certain ways that I interact with Ramses that Renard would be like, chill, nah, stop. And it can, sometimes it could turn into a debate, sometimes it could turn into an argument. But I afterwards, after I calm down, because y'all know I'm a hothead, I realized he's not looking at it from just the overall parent umbrella. He's looking at it as the father. Like, no, you're hindering my child from manhood. You're hindering my child from the strength of a man, the knowledge of a man, the power of a man. Do you feel, or how did you address that type of emotion as fathers with your wives?
It's just really a conversation of allowing him to be a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the simple fact of, okay, I see my son jumping on the bed. Don't be letting him jump on the bed. He's going to bump his head. Okay, that's a possible risk. But also, he's having fun and enjoying himself. He has to learn the lesson of, if I jump off and do something crazy and I fall, I could hurt myself, even if he's been told. But you also have to remember that with these young men, not only do they share our personalities, they share our wives' personalities and their own. So sometimes it's like you're parenting yourself, or you're mini me. So and sometimes, and I think that's where it gets kind of confusing, of where you might look at your husband and be like, well, I feel like we should handle it this way because he's acting more like me than he is you right now. And that's where the balance is, of figuring out the personality traits that that these little young men share, and parenting through those. But also you have to be careful with that, because as the wives, you guys are trying to set your boundaries and set your tone as well. So we as men just have to communicate that. Again, communication will always play key. And it's just like, hey, babe, I think you shouldn't have approached John like that. Maybe you should have did it this way. And I think it would have been better suited in that situation. And if it does pop up again, could you try approaching it that way? And again, but that's like behind closed doors, when the kids are asleep or something, and y'all are together, if y'all do spend time together at night, and just have that kind of discussion, because that way neither parent is overstepping their bounds, but both parents are being heard and handling your son in the best manner that you feel is for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in doing it that way, both, like, you're heard, so you're not feel like you're feminizing your son, and it's like, yo, you're making him a wimp or a sissy. Like, no. But I want him, he may have to reel it back in, because that's something that could cause problems later. And at least we can have that conversation again in our bedroom, or whenever it's just me and you time when the kids are asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That way is a good way to approach that. Because again, I remember I fumbled that sometimes myself, and be like, hey, yo, you can't be talking to him like that. Like, chill out. And and I did it in front of the kids, and then I would be like, ooh, my fault. Babe, I'm sorry. We should have did this like when it was just me and you and the kids were asleep. My apologies for like making you look like the bad guy and I'm the good guy. And like, again, because then kids start doing the favoritism thing, which preteens, I hate it. Trust me, them preteen stages.
We ain't there yet, Ellis.
No, you ain't there yet. Trust me, I'm living it. But yeah, it's really just having that conversation. And again, now the husband-wife thing, knowing when to have that conversation, like, hey, can we kind of talk about how we handled that, and how we can kind of be better at that? Because again, like Bernard said, like Stephane said, a lot of us are parenting with no manuals. I know parents that have read all the parenting books in the world, and it's like, that's great, but you can't bookworm your kid to being how you want them to act. They have their own mind, their own curiosity. These little human beings are going to function how they function, and you have to kind of adjust to that a little bit. And that's where it gets tricky, where you have sometimes, and again, I'm going off on a tangent, I'm sorry. But I'm trying not to. I'm trying to stay on the subject. But like, that happens.
Stephane.
For myself, that's something my wife and I, throughout her pregnancy, we always communicated. Like, hey, you know, you're gonna do the guy stuff with your son, and I'm gonna be the mom, and there's gonna be certain things that you're gonna probably not like that I do, but I'm still gonna instill them and try to do them because I want him to know that side of things too. But that's something every day, every time I'm doing things, I try to include my son. And it'll be the simplest things like mowing the lawn. I'll be like, hey, let's go outside. Instead of you sitting in here, let's go outside. He ended up loving mowing the lawn with me, and he got a little lawnmower. He would walk beside me, help push the lawnmower, everything like that. I'm working on my motorcycle. Hey, let's go. I need this tool. He don't even know. I'll have to tell him 5 times which tool it is because he's still too young to know the difference. But he's
I was
out
gonna
there
say,
playing around.
did he just turn 2? He didn't turn 2 yet. He just turned
Yeah,
2.
he's 2. Yeah, he's 2. So turned 2 in September. So he's like over the summer. I'm like working on the motorcycle. I'm like, yo, this. He's like, Daddy, Dad. I'm like, yep, that one right there. I know I have to tell you 5 times, but doing those things. And I think sometimes a lot of men I see and I've spoken to, they're like, they don't instill that as the kids are young, especially as boys in them. And then as they get older, they wonder, how come my son is not acting a certain way? How come he's not doing this or knows about certain things around the house? And that's something like on my wife's side, she's like, I'll make sure he cleans after himself. Like for me, he throws the toys all over the place. I'm like, man, he's gonna be doing the same thing tomorrow morning.
I'm not even gonna bother picking
toys. But my wife's like, no, you have to instill that and clean after himself. I'm like, all right, fine.
Listen, fam, He should not make it a game. I did it with mine. Make it a game.
We got the cleanup song and everything with him.
Is it Gracie? Is it Gracie Corner's cleanup song?
I don't know which is like clean up.
They ought to say it.
I see, like we started with that, but I started saying, nah, we're gonna do some rap songs. Nah, B.
That's why. No, that's why y'all listen.
Oh yeah,
that's
I'm one thing. Like I'll watch cartoons with him. Like even though he wasn't understanding, he was a little kid. I'm like, yo, we watching X-Men when it first came on Disney. It was
you gonna know what this is.
This. I'm like, yo, mind your business, okay? He's gonna sit here with me and watch the whole X-Men, even though we're gonna have to watch it later on in life. I'm like, there's certain things,
then I can explain
albums you're gonna be listening to in rap and hip hop as you get older. We're gonna talk about these. We're gonna talk about this shit. So those, I can't wait when those days come. But yeah, you have to, because if you don't, it's like, I think like you kind of leave it up to your child, and most of the time, like you said, Ellis, kids have their own personality. So if you don't instill certain things in them at an early age, I don't think they're gonna pick it up. But yeah, as far as the fatherhood part and making sure, okay, he knows about certain things, like, yeah, do this, do that. Those are kind of things that you as a man of the house do. Seeing that also. And that's one of the things that I've started to realize, like, they pay attention a lot more than I thought. Like, there's certain things, like even the way I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll sit or something like that. I'm like, okay, all right, I can't do this anymore. I can't say this anymore. Or anything like that. So, and be wary about that. But no, definitely you have to.
Right. So I'm a give you a scenario. And before I give you the scenario, I will give the disclaimer. I am, as you all know, an alpha female. I've always been an alpha. I've been raised with a lot of guys. And you guys are married to alpha women. So you know that I am very transparent. I'm gonna give you a scenario, something that happened, and I want you guys to tell me what I did wrong.
And I get to tell you about you.
Yeah, you do. And how I could have better approached the situation from a father's standpoint. So Ramses is at school and Renard had the day off, so he was home and I had a doctor's appointment. I'm not going to say like most moms, but the line of communication between daycare, I feel like it always usually goes to the mom unless the dad like steps in and goes, no, call me first. So I had my doctor's appointment and Ramses' teacher sends me a text to let me know Ramses has a fever and needs to be picked up. So, I give Renard the heads up that he needs to be picked up. But me, in mommy mode, I'm just like, well, F the doctor. I'll eventually heal at some point. I'm going to go pick him up. But Renard did go and pick him up. And the next day, we picked him up. He's, has a fever, ended up being an ear infection, but we found that out like a day or two afterwards. When I got the next morning, Renard said to me, how upset would you have been had you had to go pick up Ramses knowing that I was home and could have done it? Now, mind you, because our daycare is like 5 minutes away from our house, I was all the way in that Longwood. And my response to him was, I wouldn't have been upset at all, because when it comes to Ramses, I consider myself the first line of defense. Now, my husband, being the manly man that he is, did not show me that offended him. But I think that it did. So if you were to be in Renard's shoe and your wife tells you that anytime it comes to your child, she considers herself the first line of defense, you guys being men, from the father's standpoint of view, where did I go wrong, or how could I have approached that better?
Saying it, first of all.
Yeah, like,
saying
but
it
it wasn't said in any malicious way. You know me. I have no filter. I just say exactly what I think. But go ahead.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to take. But Rachel, and I've told you this for years. It's like sometimes no, because you got to take a second and be like, okay, because again, if you're at a doctor's appointment, I'm already at the crib. I'm like, yo, I got him. I can do it. But again, communication.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with you alpha, hard-headed wives of y'all, I need to go get my baby. Okay, now, because now me being the jerk husband that I am, I would have said, so now I got to deal with both y'all sick in the house and in the hospital. Great, thanks. I appreciate that. Because now you sick because you didn't go to your appointment. You really sick. The baby sick. Both of y'all looking. Now I got to be like, now I got to make soup and all this stuff. All right, the jokes aside, it's communication. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd have been like, why are you leaving your appointment? And I'm down the street. I'd have been, or it's like, hey, quick text. Hey, I'm going to grab him. I'm 5 minutes away. After your appointment, just come home and we can figure it out. Cool. Or give me a status update while you're at the doctor's.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Because you still need to go to your appointments too, Mom. Because remember, you want us to be out here being single dads? No. Stop being stubborn. Do what you got to do. Let us handle what we can handle. We're supposed to be a team. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Bernard.
I mean, I agree with everything you said. And as a person who finds myself doing too much, similar to you sometimes, like I will just clean my whole crib, go wash the truck, et cetera, and then she's just like, yo, I could have did this over there. I could have did this over there. And I'm like, you should have said that when I was knee deep in that 45 minutes ago. But it is what it is. But when you can't, first of all, you can't. There's a lot. What I learned, first of all, going back to what you said, 2020 was a difficult year for my relationship specifically. You was there. You was part of it. You are in the trust circle.
I am.
So, like, what I had to learn was like, hey, there's some shit that you can feel, and there's some shit that you can say. For you to say that shit out loud is wow.